Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Welcome. I want to welcome you to the Dr. Pat Show. I'm Dr. Pat. Thank you. I want to say something. Ruth Wilson is joining me here today. And the show today is how Ruth is using her intuition to help you use your intuition. So basically what I'm trying to say about this show, as we enter 2024, both of us are going to demonstrate the power of intuition. And what I mean by that is not the power that somebody else has or has to give you, but that power that's within you. Ruth has been using this in her business. Of course, she had the courage to get an MBA. We'll have to tell that story today about my intuition told me to walk in that room and turn around and walk out. There's just some things I know I'm not cut for, but Ruth is. You know, she is also a part of many of us that have walked down the path of business, whether it's an expert in sales and sales systems or amazing hypnotherapist certification. Here's what I want to tell you about her. You're going to hear lots more about her with her show. You're going to hear about the show today, but you're also going to hear how she weaves the beauty of intuition in every aspect of the work she does, but also the way she lives her life. She has studied, she has taught intuitive perception online. We want to talk about that. And, you know, today, with the power of, you know, when you think about what hypnosis can do, and I'm talking about expert hypnosis, I'm talking about how to clear blocks, how to remove procrastination, how to manifest abundance, how to know that 2024 is the year to expect more. Sometimes we need help. I'm here today because 20 years ago, I intuitively didn't hang up on a wrong number, which is at the time, 20 years ago, out of total character for me. But I'm not surprised that I didn't do that because a lot of my life was lived like that. I just didn't know what it was. Now, when you combine what Ruth does plus NLP, we'll talk about that, then here's what I want to say for those of you this year, as we talk about how intuition can be used in your life. There are many of us, like Ruth, that have learned because we've been stuck at different points in our lives. And now we're on a mission to help you move forward and live the life you want. You know, beyond her credentials, beyond being an intuitive coach, beyond all of that, there's one thing that gets her fired up, and that is helping all of you understand that you too can be intuitive every minute of every day if you choose. Ruth, it's great to have you. Welcome. Congratulations, launch of your show. So many things happening in 2024.
Thank you, Dr. Pat. I'm so happy to be here talking to you and talking to everyone.
Yeah, I want to start with the little tidbit that I shared because it lends itself to the question about what kinds of things you are able to help people with. And, you know, I'm not kidding. We're rolling in our 20th year. So this is my 20th year on AM FM radio. This is 20 years in multiple markets, but the Seattle market. And it started from a dialed wrong phone number that I didn't hang up. And I want to really have you lean in to, this is just one thing, but lean into how you help people don't hang up on wrong phone numbers that are so right.
Yeah, I hear what you're asking. And the first thing I would say is that we all are deeply intuitive. It's part of our being human, and it is part of our survival mechanism. It is part of our spirituality. It is all encompassing for every human to be intuitive. The unfortunate thing, I think, is that our society often discourages it, not always, but often. And the fact that we've been on Zoom for 3 or 4 years now has made it a little more difficult for most of us to exercise our intuition. But a lot of times we've been, even when we did feel our feelings, we were discouraged from acting on them, perhaps.
Yeah.
So I would encourage everyone to get in touch with themselves and know that those perceptions are so valuable, and they are so right. And one thing I can help my clients do is to test them out and find out how right they are, find out how correct they are.
Now, I want to talk about a couple of things, because a lot of times when we talk about this, Ruth, in my experience, 20 years of it, is that people don't understand how practical this is. I want to talk about, the way that you've used this. I know you've had many clients, but one in particular. See, people don't think that intuition can be used, especially if you're like me, been fired from every job I've ever had and walked the path of unemployment. That's what we used to call it. I say in between jobs. But you've had experience in helping people from all walks of life, especially the practical. And I'm going to tell you, employment and career, that's a practical thing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And my first understanding of what I was dealing with, I've been intuitive since I hit the planet, but I started to realize what was going on with me when I was working in a management job. I was a general manager, and people would come to me and want to know, what does your gut feel about that new policy? Or what do you think of the new guy? How do you feel about him? And can you come to my interview and check this person out? And I had to laugh, because I thought that they would be so upset if they realized they were requesting psychic readings from me, but that's exactly what they were doing. And the reason they were is because their own intuition was telling them things, and they wanted to get some validation.
Well, I mean, and part of this too is really taking I love the whole analogy of the rabbit hole. I love that. What is it? Alice. Thank you, Alice. But the reason I love it is because, today we're talking with people for this year about intuit. I want to start with this. We created a theme for this year, and it is 2024, the year to expect more. And we created the meaning for the word more, right? And so it can't just be more. So for me, I had to say, what does more really mean? Well, first of all, it means manifesting. Then it means opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Manifesting opportunities, because once you manifest opportunities, then you're at a choice point, right? Now, this
Right.
is really what I want to talk to you about, because it has to do with creating reality and intentions. And then once you manifest those opportunities, now what? Now, what do? You have to reignite them. And then, most importantly, do that expansively. And I'm not sure that I know how to do that without intuition. So I want to ask you this question. We get asked, I get asked, you get asked, really? We can create a reality? And by the way, can this reality attract what I just said? Manifesting opportunities, re-energized expansively. Can we do that? Because a lot of people don't think we can.
And I would have been one of those who said that it wasn't possible not that long ago. I've studied this for years, and I would say that spiritually, I believe that everybody manifests their reality all the time, good, bad, indifferent. And it's just what you're doing without even being aware of it. for some years, I'd questioned this because I would intend something and manifest something that I didn't think I intended. And it took me a while, and it took me some study to see how that really works. And now I can see the energy of it so clearly when I manifest something, and it's my intention and it's my counter intention at the same time. So I may manifest a wonderful partner, but there may be this counter intention, this belief that he's going to be like all my other partners.
Yeah.
So sometimes we get a mixed bag and we think it's not working, but the truth is it is working. And when you get all aligned with yourself and when you get all directed in one direction, you can manifest so easily. It's scary. And sometimes it's things falling in your lap. Other times it's just knowing what action to take, knowing what to do, and a lot of hard work, but when it's the right work for you, it's lots of fun.
Let me tell you, I just had an experience of this before the holiday. I've been flying back and forth to the East Coast. And in between that, the lease on my car was up. And I have had a bright orange Nissan Rogue for the past, I don't know how many years. They stopped making the color, but it's very difficult to get cars in orange. Now, my dealer, Ray, that out of Nissan Everett, explained to me why that is, but I wouldn't let go of it. And so he asked me an interesting question. He said, well, what do you want in a car, right? What do you want? What do you want in a car? And I put the list together. And here's the thing. The list that I wanted, and it was really important for me to have a very hefty car this year for a lot of reasons, very, hefty. Had to be able to haul our equipment, studio stuff, right? Remote broadcast. And by the time I was done, Ray said, look, I've got your car, but let's take a short break. When we come back, like Ruth just said, sometimes you manifest it, you create it, you decide what you want, and you will get it within the realm of immediate possibilities. Let's take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back. Welcome back. And I want to give a shout out. That music you hear is music that was specifically written and produced by Nick Johnson many years ago. And since we are talking about our 20th anniversary on AM/FM 15 for TTR, I want to just give a shout out because it was and is today people like Nick and all of the interns that came from the Institute in Seattle that came through our doors, including Jessica, who started as an intern here. All of the people that contributed to where we are today, we're going to be celebrating throughout the year today. It is that kind of year. It is that kind of place to be grateful. And Ruth Wilson is one of those people that is out in the world helping all of us remember that whatever we can perceive, what would you think if I said you can receive it? Ruth, what's the best way for people to find out more about you? And then I'm going to finish my little car story.
Okay, yeah, I'm dying to hear the answer. I can be reached at intuitivecoach.info.
Look, and ruthwilson.com, right? Ruth-wilson.com.
That's right.
Okay. Look, here's the deal. I've known Ray, Nissan of Everett up there, Campbell Nissan of Everett. I've worked with them for multiple years. In the world of car dealership, it is highly unusual to have Ray, the manager, I work directly with the manager, be in that position for any length of time. And I think Ray has been there for 3 cars now for me. And I was in a tough situation. I was on the East Coast. Of course, many of you know why. My best friend needed some help. And, yes, my network is a number 1 priority, but only second to the people that I love in my life. And so in that, my lease runs out. And thank you, Nissan, for extending my lease. But here's the deal. I came down to the wire and I found the orange Nissan that I wanted. And I called all over. And shockingly, Nissan of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho had one, but they wouldn't ship it. So he says to me, Ruth, Ray says, Pat, what do you really want? I know you want an orange car, but like, do you want wheels on it? Do you want... He says, what do you want? And I said, Ray, more than the color, this is what I want. And I gave him my list. I needed to make sure that I had larger tires. The car was more expansive. When I got in it, it was hefty, it was safe, had good gas mileage. And Ray comes back and he says, Pat, I have got a black Rogue, I think it's called the Platinum thingy. I'm sorry. I apologize to Nissan, and Ray, I apologize to you, because cars, yeah. But he comes back with amazing car. I've never owned a black car. He comes back with this car. And I know he used his intuition to get it, because I'm telling you, he tapped into what I really wanted. And I walked out of there in between my trips with a brand new lease, brand new car. It took me 2 months to get back to get my plates. But I walked out of there with something better because I let go of something. Now, the reason I'm sharing that story with you is because we sometimes are missing things and therefore can't create what we want. Something is missing and we can't create it. In my case, if I'd have hung on to that orange color and excluded what I really wanted, I mean, we do this in life all the time, I wouldn't have really got what I wanted, because they don't make the car that I wanted, guess what, in that orange. So I had to decide. And intuitively, I took one look at that car, Ruth, and I said, that's it. Now, why am I using something so practical? You buy a house, relationships, people you meet, go on an interview, any number of things that you want to manifest. I don't think we know that intuition is the driver. Explain that. Am I on track or not?
You are, because intuition is really much more than psychic skills, although it includes those psychic skills. Intuition is your, well, I mean, we can split hairs about what the definition is, but it includes a lot of your perceptions. And some of the intuition is just physical reactions. And some of it is things that you already have encountered that you know, and tapping into your knowledge. And some of it is psychic skills and your ability to see beyond yourself and perceive things that are important to you. But I use intuition to talk about any time we go within and access the inner wisdom. And the inner wisdom says, this is what you want. This is what will make you happy. This is the car that will serve you. This is what you really need in a house. And we manifest reality based on that inner stuff. And anything that you want to manifest, it's that inner stuff that's important. And so, anytime you want to create something, you need to be aligned around that. And that is what will do it. So yeah, you thought you wanted an orange car, and you probably could have gotten an old beater that was orange, because they've been making them for a long time.
I could have gotten the orange Nissan I wanted. There were 6 in the United States. Hello. I could have gotten it. I mean, and the folks up at Coeur d'Alene, Nissan of Coeur d'Alene, were actually going to drive it down for me. But did I really want that? What did I really want? Let's talk about that. And by the way, thank you. I just got a text message from one of our listeners. The listeners have my cell phone now. So I get it. The name Ray is Ray Eshak, Ray Eshak. It is Nissan of Everett. And I am not affiliated with them at all. So I just want to say this is not a paid plug. This is me honoring going beyond in the world of service in an industry that's not known to do that. And that's also what I manifested. Now, let me just ask you this. 2024. What do you think about our theme? 2024, the year to expect more. It right out of the gate, manifesting opportunities. So you notice I didn't say manifesting a Harley, although I could have said that easily, or manifesting, right? I didn't. What do you think about that? Is that a solid intention? I know we have to get more specifically, but I do believe 2024 is the year of expecting more and getting it, Ruth. What do you think?
I think it is. I think all the tendencies and energy that I see look that way. And I think it's your intentions and what you manifest are so much more than the words you put on it. It's so much more than what you say about it. It's what you feel about it. And it actually, what you say and feel almost can be beside the point, because we create from a different part of our consciousness that includes all that, but is really a little bit outside of our intellect and our thinking and talking about these things.
All right.
If that makes sense.
It does. And it leads me to ask you this question, because you're the intuitive coach. You are the person that helps other people in many, many ways. But I got to ask you this question. I want to know, despite everything I've just said about you, this is what you do. You coach intuitively and you teach people how to do the same, how to coach themselves intuitively. And a lot of times, Ruth, when people look, especially at me, and I know it, but they have to be doing it with you. They look at your credentials, they look at what you're doing. You're going to be starting your own show, and they're thinking she's got a silver spoon. She's been born with the silver spoon. but here's the question I've been asking for 20 years. I'm going to hit you up with it. Given everything I've said, given the great work you do, I would love to know the challenges and the obstacles, Ruth, that you personally have overcome to bring you right here to this very moment, to be that intuitive coach that coaches intuitively.
Well, I'll tell you, I think to the extent that I'm helpful to anybody, a lot of that depends on the troubles I've had.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been all smooth sailing for me. And some of this stuff I had to learn the hard way. And as I said, I would have argued with you about law of attraction until a few years ago, because it was blowing up in my face every once in a while. And I've had a few traumas in my life. And I will say, for anybody who's faced that can interfere with your ability to use your intuition. So getting some help with that is really important. But no, it has not been necessarily easy, but I'm not going to tell you it's been horrible. Having intuition is, come right to the forefront of your life from the time you're born is a problem, and it's a benefit. So I've always known things I needed to know, and that's been wonderful. I've also always been the goat in the family, the one who was overly imaginative, the one who wasn't analytical, the one who had crazy ideas and thought I knew things that nobody else knew. And so that has been a bit of a struggle. So there's something about having the experience and lots of it. As you can see, I've had lots of experience.
Yeah.
That you learn how to live with what you've got and be authentic. And that's what I help other people do is get inside and get aligned with yourself, get authentic, looking at what you want to do, what you want in a car, what you need, what your superpowers are, what's going to make your heart sing, what's going to turn your crank. A lot of success is just alignment. It's just authenticity. And we're encouraged not to do that.
Oh, Ruth, this is what's critical right now. Raise your hand out there, y'all, because we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about how Ruth uses hypnosis and how powerful it is. And I'm talking about a very specific type of hypnosis. When you put that together with Ruth's ability, NLP, and multiple other modalities, what do you think gets unblocked? And the reason this is important, Ruth, is because the key I have found, I'm like you, I got turned on to law of attraction right after I started the show. I never thought, I'm telling you, I'm a kid from the Bronx. If you'd asked me 20 and a half years ago, if you'd have said to me, and by the way, this is my 20th anniversary today. Just wanted you to know, this is a 20th to the day anniversary of what is now known to be the Dr. Pat Show, which was crust busting your way to an awesome life. I'm going to see, I got to see if Sierra can find that liner, or maybe get Jessica to find the crust busting opening from one of the old crust busting shows. 20 years to the day, Ruth. I don't know that you knew that you are on my show today, the only show I'm doing today, the day of my 20th, the first day I started on AM radio in Seattle. Now, what did I have to clear out in order to move forward with that wrong phone number? Yes. When we come back, we're going to talk with Ruth about the easy steps that she's created, the processes that she's created to, I got to say it, folks, so you can create the life you want. Say want, not need, like want, desire, the life you want. You know, we need to crack down the walls of the past 3 years, because whatever you think you are, you're more than that. And that was said to me by Matt James 20 years ago. Mr. NLP creator, Matt James, 20 years ago, he said that to me on a show. When we come back, Ruth is going to explain how she helps people realize that whatever you think you are, you're more than that. Let's take a short break. Everybody, welcome back. Ruth Wilson is my very special guest today on our anniversary show. Yeah, 20 years ago, walked into a studio, Bellevue, KKNW AM 1150, signed on to do 5 days a week. And I'm talking old school. I mean, so if you people want to go back a little bit, 2003, but please keep in mind that my first show was in digital media. That's why we're so jazzed and why we're known for what we do in digital media, both live streaming, audio, and video. That was I didn't actually know that people weren't doing it. I was like, but 20 years ago, this week, everybody walked in there. Ruth, you're going to laugh. No real internet, no smartphones, no texting, sat behind there. I actually have a couple pictures I'm going to try to get up here for Sierra, but walked in there, 5 big fat binders. That's how I prepared. That's how unsure of myself I was. But for those of you out there that don't want to be unsure, that want to be confident, that want to understand what's blocking you, go to ruth-wilson.com. Please check it out. And also, you're going to be listening to Ruth doing her own show. Okay, here we are.
Well, it's an honor to be here on your anniversary.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you. I mean, it's so important to have this conversation with you, Ruth. And, you know, we talked about it. And I said, you know, I really want to have Ruth on the show because I do believe intuition has got me from a very rough childhood to be so excited about life. I want to ask you this. I want to talk about hypnosis because I think we've blown the doors off of the illusion that hypnosis is about pulling rabbits from a hat, making people. I think we've done that in 20 years. But let's get down with this and tell people what it's really about and how you use it.
Okay, yeah, and I hope we've gotten past some of the opinions about hypnosis because I get a little tired of being told it's scary. I tell people, if you're scared of hypnosis, I would say turn off the TV news and go ahead and have hypnosis, because the TV news is probably the most frightening mind control out there. And I'm not talking about any particular station. I'm talking about the stuff we watch on television. We get so thoroughly hypnotized by it. The stuff we watch on the screen, any videos are very hypnotic. And so we stand to be swayed, influenced by all that stuff. And formal hypnosis is usually done by somebody like me who doesn't want to control you at all, wants you to control yourself. And it's a very powerful tool to use to get to parts of your mind that you know they're there, but you maybe can't access them yourself. And it's also a very powerful way to get past your resistance to things. I can give an example of one of my most recent clients had some money issues. And when I started getting her to describe them to me, she got in a full-blown out-and-out argument with me about why she had to have money issues. And I thought, well, this isn't helping us too much. So we went into the hypnotic induction and got her past all that argument, out of her prefrontal cortex, out of her intellect, and into her heart of hearts, where she's wealthy and she loves herself and she does beautiful work and she provides wonderful things to the community, and she deserves to get paid handsomely for all of that. Yeah. She invests and she deserves to have a return on that investment. And she reported to me recently that she has work for the next 3 years. She's a consultant and she has work that will carry her for the next 3 years and beyond. And at her stage in life, that's just perfect. So hypnosis can do wonderful things. It might sound like I'm saying I can do these marvelous things, and I can, but it's not Ruth doing them. It's the form of hypnosis that I've learned, which is from Paul McKenna, and it's all about telling stories and using the person's imagination in a beautiful way. And it's not about controlling their mind at all, but just allowing them to control their mind.
Yeah. I want to talk about this in more detail, because let's talk about what you actually do. I think so often we have these very esoteric conversations and people don't understand there's like a process. And, there are questions you ask people, but this is also about energy. And I'm telling you, 20 years ago, when I stepped into this, the closest I came to claiming to have any knowledge of the esoteric world was meeting Sue Storm, the angel lady. That was pretty much the closest I had come. But there were things in my life that happened 6 months. On April 1st of 2004, I came down with a mystery disease. And I'm telling you, Ruth, all of the doubt, the people that wanted me to go get a real job, I was so immediately ill on that day. I couldn't do anything but keep buying airtime. And I did. And I'm not kidding. I knew to do that. And what happened to me was I learned, but I also did. And I want you to explain to folks a little bit about the process that you use, because it's important for people to understand that there's a true methodology to this. And that's why it really does work so often.
Yeah, I don't even think of these as esoteric things anymore.
Yeah, I don't.
I've studied consciousness in myself and really intensely in the last year, enough to see exactly what we're doing. And sometimes it seems like magic when you know the territory really well. And it's not necessarily magic, though. I do love magic, and I love the aspects of it that are magical, like your mystery disease. I mean, it's very typical for us to get what they call a shaman sickness. When you're not heading in the right direction, yep. You can get very, very ill. And when you start heading in the right direction, it clears up. And a lot of times we have people in our peanut gallery who are advising us to do what everybody wants us to do instead of what our heart's calling us to do.
Oh, and the burden of that, holy cow. You know, the burden of being in relationship with someone, for example, that's like, wait a minute, I signed up for you to be a doctor, not for you to use money and life savings on some hobby. Well, we now know it's not a hobby, but let's look at this from your perspective in three different ways. One, how you may approach someone. Two, what if somebody, Ruth, I'm not intuitive. I'm not intuitive. I'm not intuitive. And three, how do we help people prepare for the next year? Those are the three things Ruth is going to guide us through and tell us about her show, all the excitement of helping all of us understand the power of this in about 60 seconds. Let's take a short break, everybody. You're listening to the Dr. Pat Show, formerly known as Crust Busting Your Way to an Awesome Life. I'm not telling you. I'm just Google it. Google it. You'll find it. It really is Crust Busting Your Way to an Awesome Life. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Yeah, when you listen to the words of that song, you know what she's singing is someday, some way. You know, and what that really points out, and welcome back, everybody. What that points out is someday, some way. And that someday, some way could be today. Ruth, again, tell us about your services and your website and how people can get in contact with you and have a call with you about, look, can you help me, Ruth? What can you do? What is the best way for people to do that?
Okay, you can contact me at intuitivecoach.info. That's probably the easiest address to access. And you can sign up and schedule your own 30-minute consult. We usually don't need to take that long. That is on me, and I will probably change your energy about your intentions, whether you choose to work with me or not, but it'll give you a really good clue of what I think we might need to do for you particularly, because I work very custom. And one of the questions Dr. Pat asked before the break was about, what if I'm not intuitive? You are intuitive. I'll tell you, you are intuitive. It doesn't make any difference. But you don't have to be formally intuitive. I've taught people to use their intuition, and I've never found anybody who couldn't find it or couldn't use it. So a good example would be, I had a client who thought she was going to be unemployed for the rest of her days and was just so scared during the pandemic that she'd never find another job. She'd been unemployed for a while. And I had her get centered, and I guided her to go in to her intuition and look at the future. And looking at the future is never a sure thing, but you can see where the energy's going. And she saw herself employed in a couple of months. So she knew that her energy was moving her to employment, and pretty darn quick too. So she came away from that feeling much more certain and much more like she could plan her future and realize what was going on. And the other thing I would like to let people know about is that your intuition usually doesn't show you anything but reassuring things. Mm-hmm. It usually shows you something good, or something really useful, or something that helps in some way. I have never seen anybody access intuition that was awful or discouraging. I've seen intuition find discouraging things, but not without there being some kind of solution to whatever it is. You know, there's a course correction kind of intuition. Sometimes it's that sort of thing. So usually it's very encouraging, and you come out of the session feeling like you know something you needed to know, and you have your marching orders to go ahead.
I love this. Ruth, I went back to my Plainfield high school reunion this year. Shout out. I gotta say the whole deal, everybody out there that created this thing. Oh my gosh, what amazing to go back there. I've got some pictures for Sierra that I'll send you for this. Maybe you can incorporate them in the show. But the thing that I was struck by is I went to the book, the book they have where under your thing, it says like, what's your favorite color? What do you want to, what do you love? I was shocked by what I wrote, like 17 or something. One, I loved studying bacteria. Who knew? Two, I love teaching. And three, I wanted to be a doctor. And I'm telling you, I was not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I had some learning issues. But here we are today. And I did let go of the bacteria thing. I did let go of that for a little bit, but I am a little bit obsessed with it. So here's what I want to ask you in wrapping this up now. I want to talk about keeping the eye on the prize, nurturing the movement we have for 2024. Because going back to that high school reunion, which I didn't think I'd get to, right? But I was back there with Linda, and it just happened to be this year. It was magnificent. It changed me. It inspired me more. I was with people that I hadn't seen. Plainfield High School, Google these years, 67 through 70. Just Google those years and watch what will show up. The authenticity. So take us through how we can set ourselves up for the most amazing manifestation opportunities, energizing expansively 2024.
Well, first of all, I think the most important thing is to appreciate your authenticity and appreciate how you feel. And if you're not in touch with your feelings, learn to get in touch with your feelings, because they'll tell you all sorts of things about what you're creating next that you might not recognize. I talked before about intuition, intentions and counterintentions. And anytime you generate an intention for the next year, you're probably generating a counterintention. And these counterintentions can keep you from getting where you want to go. And they're not magical, and you don't need any magic to find them. But you do have to pay attention to what's going on inside. You do have to pay attention to your feelings. And I would recommend, too, getting help if it's something you can't figure out. We all have a blind spot. We all have areas that we can't see. It can be really hard to work on some of this stuff by yourself. I just realized not that long ago that my intention to do well in my own business had a counterintention with it. That was counterintention was not to fail. Well, trying to intend not to fail is not real helpful when you're trying to do well in business. So we all have something, and if you can't see it, there's nothing like getting help from somebody who can see that for you. And of course, that's a plug for me, because I'm good at seeing the energy of other people's intentions and kind of seeing which direction they're going and what you're going to do if you continue on this path, and whether it's going to work the way you want it to or not. So knowing yourself over time, I do believe in empowering people, and it's great to have training wheels, but you ride much better without them. I think over time you learn to feel your feelings and access that creative place where you do manifest reality, and then it won't matter. Your vision board will be just for fun, because you're going to manifest it anyway.
Yeah. And, there are a couple of things that I think you and I learned about this. And thank you for talking about the counter creations, because they do show up. And I know you're going to be doing a bunch of shows on this. Take a moment, tell people about your show.
Okay, my show is going to be about all the different things I do in intuitive coaching. And every show is going to include a demonstration because I do hypnosis. Hypnosis is really great for leading you to access different states of mind and to try different intuitive things and to try to see things intuitively. And we can do a lot of that on a show. So why not find out if it helps? Why not find out how to access your creative spark? I do a lot of meditation guidance for metaphysical center, and I'm quite good at leading people into a different state of mind, into a state of mindfulness, into a state of mental quiet where they can create. And so we would do a number of things like that.
Yeah. I love that we're talking about this. And I love that you're doing the show because people are going to get 30 minutes of seeing this, to seeing intuition in action. And I love it. Here we're coming into 2024. And I'm so clear that it really is the year of expecting more and getting more. And what I love about this is that you're going to be there to guide people so that they truly do manifest the car they want, not because of the color, but the car they really want. And sometimes you need the help. I needed Ray. And you know, when he said, I can't believe I happen to have a car that fits exactly what you want. They're not making many of these, and I got one sitting in my lot. Now, a lot of things went into that, but let's talk about, in the final minutes left, how can you help us today activate some of these superpowers? What would be a tip you could give us bringing this show full circle?
I would say, and please listen to the whole sentence, that you should learn to meditate because you only need 7 minutes, 7 minutes of meditation, of being quiet, to get the physiological response to meditation. If you get the physiological response, then you're that much better in touch with yourself. You're that much more intuitive. And a lot of people who meditate find that they manifest things all over the place suddenly that they had been wanting for a long time because they just finally got into the state of mind that they needed to be in.
And I love this. Also, I love that you talk about the January 11th, the new moon. You know, when I said to people that I did not finish my board, I'm targeting my board for 111. Hello, 111, right? 2024. There's a reason for that, right? Yeah. Because this is an intention that can be energized lovingly around that new moon, right?
Right. Very much so.
Ruth, again, thank you so much. Please give out your website, how we can work. And then last question is, I'd love to know your personal message. What would you like to leave us with today?
I think my personal message is what I see for 2024. And as I keep saying, you can't predict the future that well, but what I see over and over and over again is it's better than you think.
Yeah.
We've been used to some area of our life being hard, and I see it suddenly getting easy, like a drawer that's unstuck and it just pulls out all of a sudden. The other thing is I think there are plenty of upheavals in the world, and I think they may, when I look at them, they look like they're not going to be all that bad in the long run, or they may play out a little differently than you expect. And yeah, so, and as you said, where to visit me at intuitivecoach.info. And I am having a web meeting on Zoom in the new year, just before the new moon, to tell you what you need to do to nurture your intentions for the new year. So if you want to join me for that, I'd love to have you. But I am super optimistic, and
Yeah.
sometimes I wonder if I'm crazy, but
No.
I think this year is going to be really different. And I have an astrologer friend who gives me a million reasons why it is going to be really different. And I'm choosing to believe her.
Well, and I think intuitively for both you and I, we know it. And in the words of my friend Matt James, as he has said to me 20 years ago, and which I'll repeat again in terms of what you said, whatever you think it's going to be much more than that. Matt James, of course, and if you want to find out about Matt, just go nlp.com and you'll find out who he is. But the message is, don't cut yourself short. Use those superhuman intuition powers. Website, Ruth, how do people find you?
Intuitivecoach.info.
And again, it's Ruth Wilson. Thank you so much for joining me on this day,
Thank you.
Ruth. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sarah, thank
Happy
you for
New Year.
pushing all the right buttons. And to those of you out there, this is the year of more. It's up to you to call that energy in. It's already there for you. Thank you for tuning us in and turning us on. We'll see you next time.